Hey Luna, what are you afraid of?
Good sister. Good girl.
Hi, this is Camber.
Hi, this is Nikisha, and you're listening to Wise and
Wise and
Weird.
Weird.
Ugh. I tried to play it off.
I love when people try to not yawn.
I know.
It's like the most, you can't even recreate
like,
that face.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm
Man,
super
okay.
excited about this. I'm just really stoked to hear about the astrology for the day.
Yeah, you're not going to be as stoked after you hear about the astrology forecast, but yeah, let's go. No, I'm just kidding. It's good. It's good. Um, yeah, let's get into it. So we've got Sun in Scorpio right now, which you already know. It's your Scorpio season. Just getting it in. So yeah, it's usually a really deep time of the year, which I love this time of year because this is when it's the veil between like here and the spirit world is like the thinnest. And Scorpio is kind of all about that deep, what is hidden, what isn't seen, what's mysterious. I love all that stuff. So yeah, we are in Scorpio season, so things are going to get deep and real, and things can become exposed. Um, and everything has a deeper meaning, which I'm all about as well. um, so Sun in Scorpio right now, Scorpio season. Today the moon just entered Leo, which actually is my moon sign. I'm moon in Leo already, so I'm feeling it. So really good day. And the moon's in Leo for a couple of days. So it will be tomorrow too. Um, really good day to play and connect with your inner child, um, which I definitely did today. But yeah, kind of funny. We're starting our podcast today, I guess. And then Moon and Leo, fire energy. So yeah, just being bold and brazen and just kind of like getting out there. Um, I love Leo energy actually. It's really fun. They can tend to be kind of like center of attention sometimes. They like to be like out there, and um, they can be like flamboyant and um, very vocal, center stage, which is really cool. They usually have great fashion. So yeah, Moon and Leo right now happening, but also a very playful sign. So that's why I was saying a good time to connect with your inner child. So tomorrow, just do something to kind of be playful and connect with your inner child, or do some like inner child healing or like tapping you want. I actually have a really good like inner child tapping that I've been doing lately. So really good time for that. So this next one is like really big for us. It's Mercury. Well, Mercury's in Libra. It has been for a little while now, but Mercury is the planet of communications. It's the planet of the mind. It's the planet of like and intelligence, communications, technology. So that's why when Mercury goes retrograde, everyone's just like, oh, don't send that email, like, and your computer like explodes and blows up and your car breaks down and stuff. But right now it's not retrograde, nothing crazy like that's going on. But yeah, Mercury is in Libra, and Libra is a really good sign for, well, they're balanced, right? So like it's a really good time for like negotiations or even like mediating. And yeah, it's a really good time for communications when Mercury is in Libra. So
Perfect.
I know, I thought that was pretty cool. I'm like, okay, I can deal with this. What else I say? Yeah, good for like compromise. It's also really good for like one-on-one type of conversations, which I guess we're kind of having right now in a way, one-on-one with like a bunch of people. And then right now Venus is in Sagittarius. So that's very adventurous. That's there can be like a very spontaneous energy there. And then Venus is our romance. I like to call it our love language. When I'm doing like birth chart readings and stuff, like I'll look at your Venus sign for your ideal partner, your love language, or how you are in relationships, your marriage, stuff like that. So, but Venus also can represent friendships, and it also represents like the arts. It's a very sensual, feminine planet. So yeah, right now it's in Sagittarius, which is a fire sign. So it's just kind of an interesting dynamic there. But Sagittarius brings a lot of like adventure and spontaneous and philosophy into the mix. And then what was the last aspect that I wrote down? Oh yeah, so the sun in Scorpio is square the Leo moon. So it's a time of kind of like sorting things out. You're going to be kind of like figuring something out that maybe isn't quite working the best right now, that needs to change. Something could possibly be like exposed, brought to the surface, worked through. But yeah, kind of a time for something possibly to come to your awareness. And that's what I've got. Just kind of a lot of stuff building up, honestly, to next week. And after next week, things start getting like kind of intense with the new moon and starting of eclipse season for the next couple of months and stuff. So tune in next week. Yay!
Yay. I love it. I always love hearing your astrology stuff. I feel like whenever you talk about it, I'm like, yes, that's what's happening right now, because I'm not as versed as you are. So
just like, yeah,
this is happening.
Yeah, I love astrology. I always have. And then people will come to me, people that like don't even believe in astrology necessarily, or they'll tell me that they don't or whatever, but then they'll like call me up, hey, like what does this mean, or what's going on right now? And it's so funny. But yeah, I love it. I could talk about it all day, the whole podcast.
We're just gonna the whole podcast, we've changed what we're talking about. We're just gonna talk about astrology. So I'm just gonna sit over here and listen and put my 2 cents in about what Scorpio is.
So yeah, there's the forecast. Pretty good in our favor, I guess. That square, the sun in Scorpio square Leo moon, that's where something was coming up though, with kind of a warning about the podcast. Well, not the podcast. It's like if you're starting a podcast, don't do it today.
If you're gonna record, don't record today. And we're aware. We've tried. We've been on this for a couple of hours at this point.
Hey, make sure not to wear your blue sweater today if you're recording a podcast. I'm like, shit.
Damn it. I wish the stars were that specific. Like, yeah.
God, I need
don't
it sometimes.
Drink that milky latte this morning. It's gonna make you shit your pants.
Sometimes though, I need that. I need the star to literally just come down and like smack the latte out of my hand.
Yeah, for real. Like, I'm seeing the signs, but what is that meme? The signier sign. I need a signier
The
sign.
signier sign. I love that meme so much. Yeah. When the universe sends you a sign, thanks, but I think I'm gonna wait for a signier sign. That's so me. I'll like have all of these like, yeah, I'll have so many signs and opportunities and reasons or whatever, and I'm still sitting back like, I don't know if that was actually like, no, bitch, you literally just asked for this like 2 minutes ago. Get it together.
It's on your gravesite, like on your gravestone. You're dead. No, I think I'll wait for a signier sign.
No, I think I'll pass. Thanks though. No thanks.
I'm not into this.
No, thank you. Not into this. Not today.
Not today.
They're like, no, this isn't Final Destination. Like, it's happening.
There's no second chances. Yeah.
So, fear.
Trigger warning if you have a problem with death. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, we didn't do the trigger warning ahead of time.
We'll put it in the notes.
Whoops. Fear. It's on fear.
I know.
Which is so great because it's still October.
Mm-hmm.
It's the month of fear. Did we even do this on purpose? Because like I didn't realize. I was like, okay, yeah, we'll have our first podcast topic on fear because we were just going to talk about like how we overcame our fear, or, discuss it or whatever because we're starting this podcast. And I was like, that's a great first episode. But then it wasn't until later on that I was like, wait, fear is perfect for October. That's awesome. I didn't even know about that right away. Was that your intention like all along? Yeah.
No, it wasn't. I was thinking like, what do we talk about? And we were kind of running into personal blocks, both of us, like different kinds of blocks about doing this. And then I'm like, why don't we just talk about the fact that we are scaredy cats about this right now? It felt really natural to talk about the fear because I'm the kind of person that's like, if I have something, it's a conflict, I just want to talk about it immediately and get that elephant like out of the room. And so I'm like, well, I just feel like this will be like, let's talk about how scary things can be and fear around starting new things like a podcast or like being seen on screen for the first fucking time or like sharing beliefs or spirituality, things that we have, me and you, I think both kind of keep in certain groups and in certain places.
Mm-hmm.
And we just don't want to anymore. So those were the reasons I like brought it up. And then you were like, yeah, well, it's October and like all this stuff. And I was like, oh man, it just felt aligned for sure.
Yeah, it did. I thought it was really cool. But yeah, I realized later and I was like, wait, after I pointed it out to you, I'm like, or was that something that she already intended to do? Because that's kind of weird of me to be like, oh yeah, fear. And you're like, yeah, duh. But cool. So I feel better now that we both like didn't even need to do that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, not at all. I think it's great that it like worked out that way. And it's like your favorite month.
Oh my God. I love October so much. I've always loved October so much. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, fear. And we're doing it and we're doing big things this month.
It's true. I know. I feel really good about this. I know. I guess the first thing I'd really like to know though, like around fear for you, like what is your biggest fear about the podcast?
Ugh, bro. Okay. So like it's funny because when I was thinking about fear and like talking about it in this in the podcast in this episode, I have such a strong fear around certain things that have to do with this podcast, like fear of fear of being seen, which is so weird because then you want to be seen, you want to be heard, but then I have like such a crippling like fear about it. But also like fear of judgment um,
Mm.
fear of failure. But then when I was thinking about like, it's just so funny though, because other things I'm not afraid of, when it comes to like roller coasters, scary movies. When it comes to scary, you know how I am about scary stories and my scary movies.
Yeah.
People listening might not know, but I'm obsessed with listening to scary stories, and I listen to them like every day. And not even that, like they're really, really scary. Like even just the average like ghost story anymore. I'm like, oh yeah, like it's cool to me, but like it's not scary. Um, yeah, I anyway, so stuff like that I can get like it's thrilling for me. It's a different kind of scared.
Do you think
Um,
that's probably tied to like the fact that it's not necessarily a vulnerable kind of scared though? Like a scary show or a roller coaster isn't really like vulnerable.
right. It's not. But I mean, I don't know. It's something that other people still can kind of fear. Like I know a lot of people that like don't go on roller coasters or like
Oh yeah,
they'll
me.
go on really mild rides. What? Oh my
Oh
God, I
no.
didn't wait, what? I didn't know that.
No, I don't get on roller coasters. No, no, no. I hate heights. Like I'm mortified of them. And it's so funny because my dad and me, we went to the hot springs yesterday and we drove past the Air Force place up in Layton.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, remember that's the first time I found out that you were like terrified of heights. I walked up next to like a 3-story building and started crying and was just like, I have vertigo so bad. I think things are moving around me. I've literally like taken off running in the street thinking a building was falling. And so I like when I was a kid, it was really bad. I
Wow.
know now that
How
the
did I
building's
forget
not falling.
that?
I don't know. I
I
don't
I
talk
know now
about
the
it.
building's not falling.
So I can tell myself, I can be like, hey, but yeah, but that it translated into like, I'm not getting on roller coasters. There's no way. I already think I'm falling. So let's not add that.
Wow, I kind of didn't know about this. I didn't know it went into like rides and roller coasters and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that though. Like when I was, writing down the notes for fear, what I wanted to say and stuff. I was just like, it's just so funny that it's like different types of fear. I don't even think I'm really that afraid of heights. I mean, I don't. Tor is.
Really?
Um, he freaks out. Yeah, he's really scared of heights. And when we first met, he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid of heights. And I'm like, oh, I am too. And we were like driving along the California coast and we stopped to take a picture. And I'm like, come over here. And we're like taking a selfie. And I'm like, wait, come over here. Like the view's going to be better over here. And he's like, are you crazy? Like you're on the edge of a cliff. And I was like, oh yeah. And like, he was like, you lied. Like you're not afraid of heights. And I was like, no, I really am. And he's like, no, like I'm legit like terrified right now. And I was like, oh, and I wasn't scared at all in that moment. So I was like, oh, maybe I did lie.
Different
But
levels.
yeah.
Sure.
But any ride, any ride. Like I don't like to go on just mild rides. Like I like to go on the biggest, baddest roller coasters, like the craziest, like spin me around, fling me around. Like I want to feel like I might fall out. Actually, that's actually the last roller coaster that I went on. It was here at the theme park, here at
Mm.
Carowinds. Oh my God, so scary. It was so scary. It was like the most beautiful moment in my life paired with like the scariest. And I literally was like, oh my God, I'm dying. Like I'm actually gonna die in this moment because it was so intense. Like there were fireworks going because it was 4th of July. Or it was the 3rd of July, but they were celebrating 4th of July. So there were fireworks going. It was at sunset. So we got to the top of this roller coaster, creep up, and at the very top, it was just this pink purple sky and these fireworks. It was so beautiful. And then, yeah, we start going. It was a lay down roller coaster. I forgot to mention that.
Well, I don't
You're
even know what
laying
the heck
flat
is.
on your back. I've
I don't
never
like
been on
that.
something like it. And I never get scared on rides, but that one, like,
Mhm.
I was terrified. And during the ride, Tor was like, are you okay? And I was like, no. And he's like, that's not your usual scream. He like
That's not a fun
knew.
scream.
It wasn't like, woo. I was like, like, tell Luna I love her. Like, it was really scary. Really scary.
Tell Luna I love her.
But
Oh.
normal, oh, so bad. But normally like I'm all for that stuff. Like I'll totally like go skydiving and I'll get in a roller coaster and I don't know, I've been in like dangerous situations and stuff like that. So I don't really have like fear like with that, which is kind of funny because it's stuff that can like change your life drastically. But
Sure.
then when it comes to like fear of judgment and like the fear of rejection or the fear of failure, stuff like that, it's like, oh no, like it's so intense for me anyway. That's how it is. So
Yeah.
it's been interesting. Yeah. What about you? What are you afraid of?
What am I afraid of? I I feel like I am in person. I'm not at all afraid to say what I'm thinking and feeling. Um, and it doesn't matter like who it is necessarily. I have a lot of fear of the podcast because I think I have stories and beliefs that the internet is like the cesspool of humanity. And I think that's
You're
like
not wrong.
which is terrible. Like I know there's so many good people on the internet. Obviously, I've like connected with so many groups of women and stuff through the internet. Like had certain mentors and teachers not shared, I would have never found them. But yeah, I like, you know, I say things to my dad in person and like we disagree on a lot of stuff, but it's one thing in person. And then it's another thing on the internet. It's like it feels more shadowy, I guess. I said my dad, but that's not a good example. But it's like a stranger. If you say something to them to their face, they're not throwing a tomato at you, but like online, they're going to say like even worse thing, like really horrible things.
Mhm.
And I'm like, do I have the skin for that? Like, and not only do I have the skin for that, but like, do I want even to have that around at all? And I think too, when you did my chart, my birth chart, you talked about like me being like like an even more private Scorpio. Like I was just a
Oh
super
yeah.
private person, and
Mhm.
I can feel that because it's like, all right, yeah, I just like fear that a lot. But like anybody to their face, like I'll tell them to F right off. Like I'm not afraid
Oh,
at
I
all.
know.
Yeah. I'm like, if someone is like up in my face or says something like really offensive to like a friend or whatever, like, like I've maybe not had like my most shining moments, but yeah, I'm not afraid of that. Like, I'm not even afraid of it's so funny because it's like I'm not afraid of dying, even. I am afraid of heights, like mortified of heights and singing in front of people and this podcast. We'll just like put those things. But
Let's
like,
put all of them out there. I have a fear of vomit. I have like a
you
legit
do.
phobia. Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
legit like phobia of like vomiting or like seeing someone vomit. And it's not even to where like the fear isn't, oh, I'm going to see them vomit and it's going to make me sick. Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't get sick easily, but it's just that like especially if it's someone I care about, like I feel bad. I feel so much like is it empathy? Is I don't know, but I feel so much and I'll
Yeah.
like freak out for them when other
Mm-hmm.
people are like totally cool with it. Like, hey, I'm used to throwing up or whatever. And I'm like, no, like I because for me it's such a terrible experience and it's so horrible. And so I think that it's like that for everyone. But yeah, let's put it all out there. I have a legit fear of vomit. Continue.
I like my list is so short. I really don't like have a lot. Um, though
I
I
don't see you as a
was,
fearful person. You're really not. Yeah.
yeah, like I'm so not. And like I definitely like I have gone to other countries. I didn't speak the language and I just like would go out by myself and just be like, whatever, and like I'm not afraid. Like I've totally, I think I've told you that story, like of that guy that was like beating his girlfriend at the gas station
Oh
in
yes.
the
Yeah.
car. And my first instinct, I literally like jumped in the car and I was like, my boyfriend's instinct at the time he's like, what if he had a gun? And I was like, I don't care. Like, what? It like doesn't cross my mind. And I'm not
Yeah.
scared of people. Like, I can be in a pretty sketch place. Like, I've walked around some pretty sketchy places in like Buffalo, New York, and LA and stuff. And they've just been like, well, if it's it, it's it. I don't know, And I don't get afraid of many things for sure. But I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
you really don't.
it's the vulnerability of like a podcast for sure. Or like just sharing yourself online, I think is a big thing for everyone,
Yeah.
especially in this age. I would say that for younger Christina back on MySpace, right? I'm like posting pictures of myself in my underwear, which I'm totally down. Like people do that now. And I'm like, get it, girl. And then I'm over here, like, I'm not posting even a picture of my face. Like, I think that the world of the internet has changed a lot. A
Oh, a
lot.
lot. A
Yeah.
lot. Yeah. And yeah, it's different. Like you used to be able to just like hang up the phone or whatever if you didn't like someone, you just didn't want to hear what they have to say or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, now it's scarier to like put yourself out there. And everyone has like there's so many more people that have access to you when you put yourself out there now, like on the internet, social media, or whatever. Um, yeah, it's scary. And I actually called up Tor last night. Well, he's out of town right now for work. So I called him up and I was just like kind of freaking out. And this whole time that we've been like talking about the podcast and stuff, yeah, I've been like nervous, excited. But last night I got this sudden like, what if this and this happens? And like I started freaking out. And so I called up Tor and we had like a pretty long conversation and stuff. But oh, bless him. He was just like, he was so helpful. But I started telling him some of my fears and stuff, and like around this podcast, like what if I put myself out there and blah blah blah, and like I don't know. He's just like, he was like, tell me. He's like, tell me, like let's go through each one of the fears. And I was like, what, really? And he's like, yeah, no, tell me. He's like, and he had a rebuttal for everything. I'd be like, well, what
Mm.
if this and this or whatever? And he's like, well, what if it does? That means that blah 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 blah. Like I don't know. He had a really good way of like turning it around. And like I was just like, well, what if like I know I'm probably gonna end up like offending someone or something, my jokes get out there, like I don't care. But and he's like, what? Someone's gonna be mean to you? He's like, the stuff that you've already been through, he's like, you've been through like crazy stuff with like even family members and like friends and stuff, he's like, some
Mhm.
stranger says something and you're gonna just like you're just gonna take it so to heart, or like have it just like ruin everything for you, some person that like doesn't even know you. And I'm like, you know what, like that's so true. When you really break it down, it was kind of silly afterward. The phone call
Yeah.
ended, I was just like, oh my gosh, I for how bad I was legit like freaking out in that moment, it was kind of silly, like once I got off the phone, because it was true. I was like, it was just really cool how he was able to like flip that around for me. It really helped.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's true. You've seen me tell people to F off. Like you've literally seen me like flip people off and like not care, but
Yeah.
then someone's little comment or whatever is gonna like bother me. And who knows if that hasn't even happened yet.
Right.
But like
Yeah.
if it were to, like, who cares? I don't know. Not a
I
big
know.
deal.
I think one of the deathbed meditations that I do that helps me through a lot of my fear though is like literally meditating about yourself like on your deathbed and like thinking about these things from that perspective where it's
Wow.
like, yeah, like are you going to regret, like basically like living out your regrets. So it's like if you're laying there in your deathbed and you're thinking about, I mean, it's a pretty deep meditation, maybe not for everyone, but you know,
I know,
um,
it's like your Scorpio ass would totally do this.
just meditate on my deathbed. It's fine. Um, yeah. And think about like, what would you be thinking in that moment? What would you look back on and be so proud of and so happy about and stuff? And it's like, honestly, would you even remember what that person said? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like the feeling of putting stuff out there that you really is meaningful to you is going to resonate further into your life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
I agree.
yeah, like I guess that's a fear. Like I definitely have a fear of dying and not doing certain things. There are definitely things on my list that I will be regretful of. I have yet to be regretful, really, because like I feel like I live a really great life. Like I do a lot. I do everything I want to do. I've like checked off most of my stuff and I feel really good about that. And it's like I want to keep feeling good about that. But it's like the more I check off, the scarier the things get,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like,
Yeah, I
okay.
could see that.
I talked to Sakara about it just the other day because it was like, what now? Like, I'm doing this podcast with you. And it's like, there's this blaring thing that's like, well, you're checking off everything on your list so fast. And then it's getting to this top thing, which is like singing in front of people. And I'm like, at some point, like, that's going to be the only thing there.
Yep.
And it's just going to be like looming. And I'm terrified. And luckily, like, Dallin helps me, which I think we both have amazing partners now. And that in itself has
We
been
do.
awesome to like go through that together.
We've come a long way with that. I remember you cursing out my ex.
That's right.
So yeah, we're not there anymore. We're not in a Vegas hotel room with you cussing out my ex. So that's good. He totally deserved it, by the way. So
Absolutely.
totally. Like
I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Oh, I would want you to do it again. Like I hope he does call me. Like, shoot. No, I'm just kidding. Not really, but
yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I totally like, I feel so good. Like Dallin helps me so much, right? He sings and he has his music. And so he like will help me with that. And he will, like he has a music room downtown and stuff. So he'll let me like, he'll record me singing and stuff, but he'll like stand outside the door. Cause I'm like, you have to leave. Like, yeah.
Cute.
So I think that's it. It's like, there's that fear of like, can I actually do this like one thing, like this one looming thing? Yeah. And writing my book too. Like that's a big one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one.
Because
I
that's
feel like
forever.
I'm
It's
just
like it's
starting
always
out.
there. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. You did do something though too with your poetry. You had like done your didn't you make like a blog? I'm like whispering it so like people don't hear.
Am I supposed to tell anyone?
Like,
I tried to start an Instagram.
Yeah.
And now I just like privately send my poetry to Sakara.
Oh.
Like, okay, here you go. And then like she didn't respond to me right away. And I spiraled just this week.
Oh no.
She didn't respond in like, it was like 12 hours. I felt like a needy girlfriend. I like wrote her and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't offend you. And she's like, what are you talking about? Of course, she was just busy like a normal human. But
well, you could send it to me. I would listen to it or read it. I guess you're not sending like a voice note of it, although you could sing it to me.
Sing my poetry to you. I'm melting in my chair now.
I know.
Just start happy.
Oh man.
I should start sending it to you. Yeah.
I mean, no pressure, but you know, I like, oh my gosh, I go through like my old high school notebooks and stuff with my poems. And I'm just like, it's kind of bad. There's a couple of really good ones, but some of them I'm just like, oh my God, like, why didn't I burn this already? But
yeah, but like writers, it's not like every word they put on paper is like profound. There's probably 1,000 terrible books they've written before they've written like a profound one. True. I'm making that shit up just to make myself feel better, but
true. Yeah, because I was like, wait, really? Oh yeah, I'm gonna go along with this. Yeah. So yeah, the book, that's a big one for me. But yeah, I feel like I'm just starting out on like my list or whatever. And you know, you're talking about like you're starting to get to the end of yours. I feel like I'm just starting out. So, but I definitely have a lot of things on it that like terrify me. One was the podcast though, and here we go. So yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vomit one, that one I'm never gonna get over. Like sorry, can't. So that's not going to happen. Because like, how do you get comfortable with that? What? Like, I'm not going to go through. And then
We don't need to be
um,
comfortable with. There's some you don't have to get over though. Like I don't feel
yeah,
like I need to have a roller coaster in my life.
I like I can't. We can't do this anymore.
Our
That's so
friendship
crazy
ends
to
on our
me.
first podcast.
I know. So how'd it go? Well, we're not friends anymore, but the first episode's out. You should check it out.
Pretty good. We're gonna do it solo from now on.
Oh, that's funny. I did want to tell you though. So in my notes that I just have like scratch notes here that I wrote down, but yes, I actually highlighted fear of having regrets. No regrets. That like tattoo with the regrets. I love that. But yeah, I put fear of judgment, fear of failure. That's a huge one, which I did want to go over that actually. I had some thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Fear of regrets or missed opportunities. And then I have vomit highlighted. And then I have Luna. Because like, oh my gosh. Yeah. After you become a mom, like it's just like, it just heightens everything. It's so much. But yeah, I
like your auto
definitely,
locks
like,
on your door.
Everything. Oh, I love those though. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, like anything like involving Luna too, I'll just see, and it's just crazy. You can see like slow motion, like they're about to fall or whatever. You're like, so I'm just like scared all the time. But I did want to share my thought on this though, because one of the things that like really helped me with fear, although I still feel it obviously, but one of the things that's like really helping me, it's literally something that I've just recently discovered, and I'm just now starting to like honor it. But human design, with finding out my human design. So I'm a manifester. And with manifestors, it's all about actually, so all the different types, most of them need like, it's weird. It talks about like when you're going to take action, you, a lot like the projectors, generators, even generating manifestors, like the different ones, they have to have like some kind of permission. But with manifestors, they initiate, they're the initiators. And when I read that to be in alignment as a manifester, I need to be like trying things and failing at them. That's how I learn. And I was like, oh my gosh, I literally, I am not living in alignment at all then. I never do that. I've never honored that. Like I never just put myself out there to try it. Like I have this like such like perfectionism. It has to be perfect before I put anything out there, before I put myself out there, before I try this new thing, before I let people know that I'm a Reiki master, before I do someone's birth chart, before like that's what's held me back so much, is that thought of like that level of perfectionism. And so yeah, learning about my human design actually really helped me a lot with that, because I'm like, it made me realize I really need to get comfortable, like more comfortable with failing. And if I came up with a quote, well, I want to say I came up with it because I'm sure that I've heard it from somewhere. I just don't know who or where or whatever. I just like thought of it last night actually, but I was like, if I'm not failing, or wait, if I'm failing, that means I'm trying.
Yeah.
And so that's helping me to get like more comfortable with it. But oh my gosh. Yeah, I realized that's not how I've been operating at all. So
yeah, I mean, that's how I operate. Like I jump into everything. I'm like, go, let's go,
cool.
let's go. Well, I'm all, well, yeah. But like bringing in human design, like mine is the sacral authority, which is like your gut instinct. And we're so taught not to trust our gut instinct like our whole life, you know? And so I say yes to a lot of things before I check in with my gut instinct. And so sometimes jumping in is really great, and other times ends up being really terrible. Because like, I think I have that fear of like not being able to explain to someone. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. And like my gut is instantaneous. But then people are like, why, and I don't have an answer. And
Yeah. You're like, I can't
I'm
describe it.
yeah, I'm realizing now, like, I don't have to have an answer. Like, I don't need to tell
Mm-mm.
people. But I failed at a lot of things. Like, I feel like that's why I am where I am business wise, for sure. And then with art and stuff, like I consider this like an art form, right? Like podcasting, like my writing, singing,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I'm scared. But what's funny is I'm not necessarily scared of failing at it. It's like I know myself so well and I don't fail at things that I really want to do. I'm like afraid of succeeding at it. I'm afraid it will become too overwhelming. I'm afraid it will not be what I think it is. I'm afraid that it will be too big and I won't be able to handle it. Like,
That's
yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, because I know myself. It's like if I put my mind to something, and I'm pretty good about that kind of stuff, but I have a great deal of fear around like actually succeeding at it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. You do. And you know that. I
yeah.
wanted to comment really quick too, because both of our human designs are very on intuition and instincts.
Mm.
Mine's splenic, so I'm splenic, and yours is sacral. But yeah, both of those are like two of the most like intuitive ones. We get like this gut feeling, and we just, yeah, like yours, it was talking about how you have like a really strong yes or no.
Hmm.
And yeah, you can't really explain why. It's just the signal that you're getting. And then mine, yeah, the signals that I get too, it talks about how like I'm very instinctual. I have to go with like my instincts, my impulse, and I can't drive it either. So I think that's really cool. And human designs help me to like honor that too, because I used to always kind of try to tuck that away, because people always want an explanation, or they always want to like try to change my mind about something. And anytime I've done that and not honored that, it always ends up being a shit show. And so now, now that I'm like learning about that, I'm really learning to honor it. And it feels so much better. It feels so much better.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, if you don't understand it, like, I don't need to sit and explain it to you or try to make you comfortable or try to like,
Hmm.
I'm over it. But yeah, human designs helped a lot actually with like helping me to um like face my fears and honor my instincts. So that's been cool.
I love that. I think it has helped me a lot. Your astrology reading helped me a lot too. I
Yay.
I think that one of the things though for me too is that I am such a heady person anyway. Like I'm very logical, I'm very business orientated, I'm very like academic, and like I research things and I read things. So I'm in my head a lot. And what I found like a couple of years ago was that it's hard for me to like listen to my gut. Like I'm not like I disassociate from my body basically. And like I still do it sometimes. Like even Dallin will be like, "How do you handle everything you have to do in a day?" Like I don't, and you don't melt down. And it's like I think I like disassociate from my body almost. And I just like
Oh,
go into this like mode of like do. I'm like I just do it. And I know like I've kind of had that tagline before Nike, just do it. And I just kidding. But I was always that way. It's like people are like, how did you do that? How did you do this? It's like you just do it. Like, I don't know. And so, but being a sacral
just kidding.
authority,
That's how I used to react to that though. People like,
I know, but it's like I
just
don't
do
know
it.
how
I'm like,
to
over.
I don't know how to explain it to people because like honestly,
Yeah.
it's like I just make a choice and then do it. And I didn't know why or how that was happening for me, but the only problem is that it got me into a lot of situations I didn't want to be in. Is trying to get there with my brain. And then it's like, oh, I have to follow my gut, but I can't feel my gut. And so that's when I started like doing
Embodiment
Alexandra's.
practices.
Yeah, Alexandra.
Yeah.
And so
Super
the
cool.
embodied breath work is like get you into your body. And that was really great for me. I think that's where I started working through a lot of my fear. Like, I think everything else is empowering, like astrology and human design. But then it's like the science behind like all that fear being actually like stored in your body, right? Like how the body keeps the score is that book that I read. There's a lot of different ones, but yeah, having that stuff like actually stored in your physical body, and then embodied breath work, like helping you like work it out of your system, your nervous system. So that's what I use a lot. And it's really interesting, because it's like you're trying to embody different things. And like, I know at first you feel so weird, like
Mhm.
growling or like screaming or like making baby sounds or barking like a dog. Like, I don't know, like you think about, um, it's just like, it's kind of like those people who take the ice baths, right? Like it fucking sucks to get an ice bath, but like you do it because you're breaking like a disciplinary thing in your body. It's like you have the discipline to get through that. And that's
Yeah.
how like the embodied breath work is for me. Like you get to work through like, why is it so embarrassing to bark in front of somebody, And it's like, not that I want to walk around barking at people. I mean, maybe
I
sometimes,
do.
but yeah. So that's what helped me with my fears. So whenever I feel like overly anxious, I'll do like an embodied breath work practice for sure.
I remember you starting to do that and like telling me about it and your experiences. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I haven't practiced it a lot, to be honest, but like I would love to do that more because it's really powerful. Like
Mm.
it's really getting energy moving big time. Um, but yeah, when you were telling me about it, I thought it was really cool. I loved hearing about that when you were doing like your embodiment practices and yeah, how and I was kind of like picturing how like if I started out doing it, I would feel so awkward at first too. It would feel just it would feel really weird. Like it's just
Yeah.
not something that you're used to doing or anything. But in that would be really cool. That challenge is what would make it like, I don't know, for me, it'd be really cool to try. Um, when you were talking about like the body keeps a score and stuff and like what because I'm totally into this. I totally believe that things show up like through emotions or traumatic events and then can become like trapped like in our body and then it physically manifests or shows up.
Yeah.
um but fear specifically weakens the kidneys. there's
Interesting.
a, there's all kinds of things, I mean, like it does all kinds of stuff in your body, but
Mhm.
it weakens the kidneys specifically. um there's different emotions that like because emotions are like different, they're different resonance.
Frequencies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
frequencies, that's what I was trying to think of. Which you're familiar with this already with like your sound bowl healing and stuff. It's like the same type of concept. um but yeah, I was reading about how like um anger is the liver. Anger is the liver. Grief and loss is usually like lungs, chest, think like heart chakra,
Mhm.
stuff like that. But yeah, fear is kidneys.
That's
um
really interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and then I found another post I actually wanted to, well, not share it, I just like wrote it down. It's actually one that I shared on my Reiki Ray profile on Instagram.
Yeah.
um but it was from someone else, it wasn't a post that I made, but it said 9 different names for fear. And I actually
Mhm.
just randomly found this post today while looking for like a picture for my biography. And I was going through my profile anyway, so I thought that was super weird. But 9 different names for fear: resistance, depression, anxiety, stress, addiction, disease, doubt, codependency, and hate. So
Wow.
those are all kind of like same type of vibration or resonance, in the same kind of like category as fear. So I thought that was really interesting.
It is. I
Um,
think we all probably land in one of those buckets, multiple
oh yeah.
probably. Yeah.
Oh
And I
yeah.
feel like that gives it like a more specific meaning because it's like when someone's like, are, your fear. Like, I think when you're reading that list, my very first thing that I clicked was like codependency. And I was like, oh shit. Like, I've never thought of it like fear, but
Fear,
it
yeah.
is. Yeah. It's totally like a fear of maybe control or a fear of acceptance or whatever. That's, yeah, I've
It's a fear
never,
of something. Yeah.
yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. If you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm feeling a lot of hate.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm feeling a lot of stress, I'm feeling a lot of anxiety. Actually, yeah, like I've never had anxiety before. And then I think it was kind of right around the time of like becoming a mom for the first time. And I have pretty bad anxiety now, or not pretty bad. I mean, I don't like, I can manage it enough, I guess, but I definitely have more anxiety than ever before. I've never really had that before. But yeah, so when I was reading through this, which that kind of makes more sense. Like fear and anxiety will kind of like group those together. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, hearing like codependency and addiction, that could
Mm-hmm.
possibly be like fear of feeling those feelings, like if it's kind of too much or overwhelming, um or yeah, resistance, like that probably is like a fear of being like out of or
Us the
control.
whole last month.
Oh my gosh, I have so much resistance to oh my gosh, like, so yeah, resistance definitely like resonates with me. Anxiety, I've definitely felt depression before. I've had tons of phases where I like, you know, or seasons in my life or whatever where I've been depressed. So yeah, fear, it's interesting how it like comes up in different ways and shows up in different ways. I also just wanted to share kind of like my last thought about it, but another thing that really helped me or helps me to work through fear is to think about what I've been through, which is kind of like what Tor suggested though too. But yeah, when I think about like some of the stuff that I've been through, and especially with like, family relationship, like the stuff that with my mom and my siblings specifically, or um oh my god, yeah, just all kinds of stuff, moving around, being on my own since a young age. The first time I ever left the country was with on that trip with Sakara, and we were gone for like what, a month and a half, 2 months, whatever. We went to New Zealand for a month, and then Thailand for a month. No, we were gone for like 2.5 months.
Mm-hmm.
um Stuff like that. And then I think about also too, like, the natural birth, that's always like the big one for me now. Like no one can tell me shit after I had Luna naturally. My first baby, my first try, like everyone's just like, what? Like that's not very common to have like a natural birth, absolutely not, no pain medication, have a natural water birth for your
Mm-hmm.
first child too. And after doing that, like, you can't tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Like,
You can't tell me.
and
Like, I
going
can't even
into that,
compare. I'm just like, I haven't had a baby.
oh my gosh, going into that situation too is just crazy because
During
I don't know what
COVID
to expect.
too.
It was during the height of COVID. It was literally
Right.
like she came like what, like 2 weeks after everyone started actually like getting laid off and like losing their jobs and stuff.
You told me they almost told you Tor couldn't be there, and you were like, fuck you. Like, he's going to be there.
They were like, well, we don't know what's happening, because at the time New York and California had made it, yeah, had made a thing that like your spouse couldn't even be in the delivery room with you. And I feel so much for those women that, were at the hospital during that time. It's already like super scary. You're having your baby. Some of them it was their first baby, their first experience doing this, and they couldn't even have their spouse with them. Like, I can't even imagine. I can't even, I think I cried like when I first was like back then when this was going on. I was just like, I felt for that so bad. But yeah, so when I went to a birthing center, but when they were kind of telling me like, we don't know what's going to happen because like in New York, they're doing this, California, they're doing this. And I'm like, well, let me tell you what I'm gonna do. But yeah, I kind of like went home and was like, Tor, you really like, we need to get serious about watching these like baby videos, and you need to maybe figure out how to deliver a baby, because I might be accidentally having a baby at home.
Tor would
But
be so good at that.
I always call him like Dr. Tor, because he's just helped me so much. He's helped me with my like cyst that I always get. My female cyst, it sucks. Oh my gosh. But yeah, he's amazing. But I mean, I'm so glad that I wasn't in that kind of situation and had to make any kind of decisions like that, because that would have been so hard. And of course, definitely like the safety of my baby is like number one priority over, but I'm glad that it all worked out to where I can have like the natural water birth. Tor was there, and they were so impressed with him. The doulas, they're like, usually the dads like don't know what to do. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what to do, especially the first time dads. He was so amazing. He was right there, like massaging me, like knew how to massage me and like where, and like, I don't know, he was like bringing me stuff and making sure I was okay, making sure I had water, he was amazing. And he actually was the one to catch Luna. When she came out, he was the first one to like grab her and put her on me and stuff. So it was awesome. But yeah, after that whole experience, I'm just like, yeah, I mean, that really helps me to think about like the things that I've been through and overcome. And so then after thinking about that, when I think of like a silly little comment that someone might say on the internet, it's like not as big of a deal.
Yeah. I feel like we're so opposite in so many ways. Like, honestly, I think that's why I love our friendship. Like, I just listen and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what, you are just like Wonder Woman over there for like all the stuff you've been through. I feel like mine is more like, I can't use that tactic. I can't be like, oh, I've been through this and like my mom did this and that or whatever. Like, I had a fairly great upbringing, like it wasn't abusive or anything, and my parents were together until I was later, like 20 and 21. I think mine is like opposite too. It's just like I have more of a fear. It's like the people pleaser or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have a lot to lose because everyone that's been in my life has been in my life since I was a kid. Like I have groups of friends I met in kindergarten, and my family has been
Same,
we've been like so close since we were kids. Like, and my family and me, like I considered my mom and my best friend, and I still do, like one of my best friends. And it's like, I never rocked the boat. And so for me, I think it's more like I'm afraid of all the things that I could like lose in my mind. Like that's what I tell myself. So it's like,
yeah,
the tactic you use where it's like, look what I've been through. What is this one measly comment going to do? And for me, I'm like not worried like necessarily even about strangers, but like family, because I've always been the peacekeeper. I've always been like the mellow one and the one that like gets along. I don't know, super Libra moon, I just like am there like, and seeing everybody's side and being supportive and stuff. And so, yeah, I think mine's a little different. It's like more of a fear of like what I'm going to lose or what I could lose, as far as like my relationships with different people in my family for different reasons. And
that's
so,
interesting.
yeah. And in one of my therapy courses, but one of my therapy sessions, she told me to like think about the worst possible scenario. And this specific scenario was like with my dad. And like what would it be like if he got really pissed at you? Like what would like just play out in your head, like all of these things, like what the worst case scenario would be to like never speak to him again in my mind. And then she's like, do you truly believe that would happen? And it's like, no, I don't. Like, I just keep telling yourself this story. And so I think it's really interesting. yeah, that's like, I don't have like bringing a child into the world like that, or like, the stuff that you've been through for sure to like go back to. But I've had stuff happen to me like in my probably from like 18 on for sure. But
Yeah.
still, yeah, it's that loss of the only
Mhm.
thing you've ever known, really.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense though. That makes sense. I definitely don't, like, while you were talking and stuff, I'm like, I don't really have a fear of that. I mean, yeah, if it came to like Luna or Torrance, I do, but when it comes to like family and stuff, my perspective's it's a little different. Not that it's not like in a bad way, but like in a sense, I kind of already lost my mom and in certain aspects. And so after going through something like that, it's just, yeah, it's different. And as far as like people pleasing and stuff like that, I'm not, that's not a super huge like fear of mine. I kind of already know that like I'm going to offend people, or I don't know, like my whole lifetime I felt like there's a lot of people that really don't like me. I've had a lot of people that really do, but there's a lot that don't. And I've kind of, yeah, just had to deal with that. And so for me it's like if some stranger just like says something online or some comment that's like rude or whatever, it's like okay, but that doesn't, I mean, that's nothing compared to like what I've been through with some other people that were like super, super close. When they said something, yeah, that hurt and it took time to go through, or, it was a whole experience or whatever. So, I don't know, but yeah, that was actually what I was going to say next is another thing that helps, and it's how Tor kind of worked through and helped me with it last night, was to think of the worst case scenario. Okay, what's the worst case scenario? And break that down. Okay, well, what if that does happen? And like figuring out, okay, how am I going to handle it? Like if this does happen, then what am I going to do? Don't sit and dwell on it and like,
Right. Yeah.
allow it to like cause you not to like move forward or whatever. But
Re-traumatize you.
yeah, but yeah, go over it, think about it, go over it, break it down and be like, hey, this is how I would handle it if this happens. Or in your case it might be something that's like, well, that's never going to happen, so like that's
Yeah.
that's not actually a thing. It's um uh false it's false evidence appearing real. Fear.
Fear. I love
Fear.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think for me, that's a big reason why the embodiment works, though, too, is because when you drop out of your head, like or meditation, which is like, I feel, I don't want to call them opposites, but it's like you're either transcending your thoughts or you're dropping back into your body away from your thoughts. And you realize, like, when you embody the truth, when you feel it in your body, like there is fear doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't,
Mhm.
I feel like we are, I don't like super cliche. We're like the energy of love. But like really, I think like at your core truth, like you are like love, if you look at like a baby or whatever, and it's like, of course they scream and cry because they have needs of whatever. But I think that like when you drop into your body and do that embodiment work too, like that's how I feel about it, is it like gets underneath that fear and just really helps you get out of your head about it. Because honestly, for me, so much of my fear comes from the stories like you're telling yourself that are probably not true.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
most
so
of them
it's,
aren't.
yeah, it's actually like one of the reasons that I ended up stopping going to talk therapy, because it's like you can go for so many years and I love it. I like support it. I've gone back and forth, like gone and stopped or whatever, but I
Mhm.
don't think it's like the end all be all. For me, it had to definitely be used with like other things like embodiment work.
For
But
me as well.
yeah, I've had a
Yeah.
solid meditation practice too for years, for like 15 years. Like I've been meditating for as long as like I can even,
Wow.
it's been like forever. I don't know.
And you're
I think
so
that,
centered. That makes sense. You've
yeah,
always been like the center, like balanced one. And
I just had
I
a
don't
like a newish friend that I met, and she was like, "Yeah, you're like the most grounded go-getter I've ever met in my life."
know.
I was like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "Usually go-getters have this like ping-pongy energy," and she's like, "You don't feel like that at all." And I was
Mm-mm.
like, "Well,
Yeah,
I think it has a lot to do with like my dedication to meditation because it's just
that's cool.
yeah, but it's yeah, there's so much science around that too, though. It's crazy. I wish that
There
we
is.
like we
I
need
know.
we need an elementary school that's like embodiment and Reiki and meditation and that's the elementary school. Like so the kids
Boy,
aren't
we
just yeah.
totally do. And I would, and Luna would be like in that school for sure. I want Luna to go to a school like that. Oh, that'd be amazing.
I know. Then we don't have to learn it in our 30s trying to figure out like how the fuck to get through life.
Right? Like it's
Yeah.
just so crazy the stuff that they teach, and yeah, the stuff that like I, I don't know. We're not taught to like regulate our emotions or yeah, how to meditate and
Or trust ourselves at all.
calm down, trust our own instincts, look inward, like I mean anything. It's so crazy. But then
Yeah.
they're like, oh no, like what's the angle of this obtuse triangle? And it's just like, okay, like, I don't know. I'm just not that like math doesn't matter, but like math doesn't matter. No, I'm just kidding. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just I definitely wish that we taught differently. That's a huge thing for me. But
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
a whole other episode. So
Absolutely. And on that
stay tuned.
note,
Yeah.
I think it's been a
Yay.
solid hour. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, let's get
Um,
out of here.
yeah. I actually pulled a card, right? What? Now, speaking of fear, because like I don't read tarot cards by any means or like oracle cards on like a regular basis, but I use them for myself often. And so I really wanted to bring it in, but I pulled a card at the beginning and I feel like it was really in alignment. It's surrender to the divine full moon. I don't know if I should put it up if it will like show it.
Yeah, show it because it's pretty.
Does it show it?
Ooh, kind of. Well, not right now, but you have to get a certain angle. We could see it for a minute.
Dun, dun,
Ooh,
dun.
it's a moon.
Yeah. Anyway, in the full moon. And I felt like this was like, I'm just going to read it right out of the book because honestly, it like fits so perfectly with what we're talking about too. And I was just like, holy shit, I can't believe we pulled this card. Um, the very word climax brings all sorts of ideas and images to mind, but it really is the feeling of this card. Life is coming to a head, a point, a conclusion, or a turning point. There may be some kind of change and possibly even some sort of emotional explosion. Tune into your emotions now and see what they're telling you. They're very likely close to the surface, no matter when the moon cycle you've pulled this card. Matters will soon conclude, and you'll find out whether or not your wishes are going to come true. The odds are in your favor, as this is a positive card, but you may need to work harder than usual to keep cool as events unfold. And a mantra to attune to the moon is I am getting the answers I need. And I'm like, all right, bitch, bring it on.
Bitch, yes.
I'm listening. Additional meanings of this card are a wish you made may be about to come true.
Ooh.
It's a make or break time. That like resonated so deep with me. I was like, oh shit. There could be a sense of madness in the air. Breathe deep and stay calm. You
Oh,
may need
wow.
to forgive someone to release negative energy. It's time to let go
Oh,
of the past and move on. I was like, oh my God, like all of these just resonate with what we're doing.
girl, don't say the F word. Don't say the F word, girl.
Forgiveness?
Forgive.
I was like, what? Don't do it. The
That's
teaching.
so hard for me.
I know. The full moon marks the climax of the lunar cycle, making this card something of a power card. The full moon is often the time when answers are given to questions asked during the new moon. And pulling this card at any time in the lunar cycle suggests answers will be coming your way before too long. Anyway, I
Ooh.
thought that was wild. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's a make or break time. I was like, we have to do this. We're like making or breaking this right now. Like we're making or breaking this fear. Speaking
Yeah.
of fear.
Make or break time. Interesting. Well, I liked that. I liked
Yeah.
that card a lot.
Cool. Yeah, I loved it. And it's from the Moonology Oracle card guidebook, in case anyone is looking. It's a beautiful deck.
I love that one. I have it too.
Me too. So with
Shout out to
that,
Savannah. Thank you.
Savannah, did she get it to you?
Yeah. She gave it to
Aw.
me as a gift.
Cute. I love that. I love getting those things as gifts for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's amazing. Cool.
Well, girl, I think that's it. So we can definitely sign off.
Okay, bye.
I do that to Dallin and he looks like he's going to cry every time. And it makes me
Oh.
laugh. I know. I'm like, it makes me feel bad. No, it doesn't. It makes me laugh. He's like, you say it and you sound like you mean it. I was like, I don't mean it. I just like to
I
tease.
do.
But yeah. So it was so nice to have this conversation with you. I'm excited for the next one.
Me too. I'm too. This has been awesome.
So thanks everyone for listening. And remember to be wise
and get weird.